we allow the photographer like 10-20 minutes to prep the house. I mean, usually we expect our clients to do it, but we do not mind if we do have the time to do it. What they do and what they tell me that they have to move, it's a bunch of kind of like clothes that are just like hanging like hats on like the doors. That looks bad. I try to edit that out, but sometimes that doesn't really work out. Any stickers on like the walls. And we prefer people to remove excess furniture just because it makes the house look bigger.
Hey guys, today we had the opportunity to interview Dolce from the Cultivated Co. Real Estate Marketing Division, and she is going to talk to us about how to prep your listing from a photographer's eye.
Yes, and we're also going to give you a ton of tips on figuring out how to interview and find the right photographer to partner with to make sure that your listings are getting the best foot forward. We want to make sure that we are getting you the best tips and tricks to really be presenting those listings to sell.
Yeah, I have some interesting questions that I want to ask her too. Just some of like the weird stuff you see in pictures and how to avoid that. And like you said, put your best foot forward for your listing.
I cannot imagine being a photographer and seeing some of these listings that come in and like not having to edit everything. Like delete it all.
Dude, if you were the photo editor, you would quit.
Gosh.
You would fire everyone.
I already want to fire everyone when we just have our own listings and walk in and I'm like, everything is wrong. Everything is wrong. What is this? So yeah, I could not imagine. We're about to interview a saint, so stay tuned and give us a listen.
Yeah. Hey guys, welcome back to Real Estateable, your go-to podcast for raw, real, and relevant information in the real estate world.
We're here with our guest, Dolce De La Rosa, with the real estate division of the Cultivated Real Estate Marketing Company that we use here in Clarksville, Tennessee. We're super excited to have her in the studio with us today. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Very good, very good. So we have Dolce. She's the operations manager for the Cultivated company. Real estate division's been a huge key factor in our success as a real estate team over the years, and so we wanted to bring her with us today to kind of talk about how that has been so successful to be partnering with this company and how that could be applicable for you too. So, Dolce, tell us a little bit about you. Your history with the company, who you are, and
how you started.
Exactly.
Yeah, start from the beginning.
Well, I've been working here for about 2 years and a half. When I came to the Cultivated, I didn't really have any experience on either photography or real estate, so it has been definitely a learning experience. Tyler, he's such a good mentor. He taught me everything I know, whether it's photography or editing. He also taught me a lot about real estate, things that I never even knew about it, how it works, things that I should know, especially when it comes to marketing. All that stuff about target audience and how to make our pictures sell better. So I started whenever I believe I was 19. Right now I'm 21. So it's been just mostly working with a lot of realtors and trying to figure out what is the best formula to make the house sell. So definitely I'm still learning.
But you're not from here, right?
I'm not. Actually, I moved to Clarksville, Nashville, about 5 years ago. I moved here from Mexico. I lived there all my life. So I came here, had to learn English and do all those things and go to college and finally graduated. And now I have this job. This is my first job, actually, like my first real job.
That's so interesting. Like, how did you learn English? I just always wonder that. My brother lives in China and he speaks Mandarin, and it's like it was more of like a self-taught. People wanted to learn people wanted to learn English, and he wanted to learn Chinese, so it was kind of like a trade. But it's always interesting to hear how people learn different languages.
Yeah, of course. It was definitely very hard because, so I am American. I was born here, but then my mom moved us to Mexico, and she kind of didn't really tell us that we were from here. So I grew up without not really being interested in being in the United States. So then after, I think I was 15, is whenever my dad and my mom got together. My dad lives here. So,
Oh,
out
okay.
of nowhere, she was just like, "Oh, let's go live with your dad." And I was just like, "But I have my life here." So, I was 15, so I couldn't say no. I was a minor, so I had to come with her. We got here, and it was definitely extremely overwhelming. I have my entire family there, my friends, all of that. And, coming here, it was not a decision that I wanted, but it's something that I knew I should do. Just because the
Hmm.
United States is, full of opportunities. And they put me into, I went to Clarksville Academy, that it's like right down the road, and they
Hmm.
didn't really have any kind of English and Spanish classes for me to learn from. So they just threw me into like normal classes, and it was definitely really hard because I was learning chemistry and math and all these subjects that
Oh
I
Oh my
gosh.
don't
gosh.
really understand, and I don't even understand in Spanish. Like I was just like, I was like, how am I supposed to do this? So, I every time I tell this story, I always say that it's kind of like a sink or swim situation. So
Mhm.
either I learn English and then I become a better person for myself, or I just, get stuck in one situation. So that's what I did. I didn't really have like a proper way to learn English, like in classes. So what I would do is I would go home or try to research as much as possible about the language, and especially in music, movies, books, all those things. I would translate it into Spanish so I know what they're saying, and then I would use a sentence from a movie, a book, a song, and I would use it the next day and try to, put myself in the culture and try to, make sentences within the sentences that I grabbed. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I would just like use a sentence, break it down word by word, and try to make puzzles out of it with other sentences. So after a while, that started to work with me. I started to talk more. I was very shy, so nobody in school also wanted to talk to me because I was the only person that spoke Spanish there, other than the Spanish teacher, and he didn't even speak that well of Spanish. So I had to learn. And then after I kind of knew the basics of English, I started to do better in my classes. And then obviously I wanted to take more challenges, so I took college level classes in my senior year, so I was able to learn more terms and like broader topics with harder words. So yeah, I think the only thing that I don't have down is the accent. I feel like people still can tell that I don't speak English very well, but yeah, it's still a learning experience. I learn new words every single day. So
So then you went to Austin P here in Clarksville, and what did you major in?
I major in business with a concentration in marketing.
Okay.
So yeah, I knew I wanted to do that since I got here, but I also wanted to major in something completely different like art. But my parents were like, absolutely not. But marketing and Austin P, they're a really good school, and I learned a lot from them too. But I graduated in 3 years just recently, December 2023, and it's been great.
I think that a lot of that experience kind of is applicable, like how you said, I had no experience coming to the Cultivated, and Tyler's taught me everything that I knew. And I think that Tyler has a similar story too, the backstory of how the company started, where it's a lot of self-taught, it's taking the talent and applying it. And I think that that is also how we have learned and grown through prepping and preparing properties, how to market, how to kind of set the stage to sell. It has been a lot of trial and error, surrounding yourself up with people that are greater than you in that subject. And that's kind of like the theme of where we're wanting to head today, is that, if you can be just a little bit better than you were the day before, surrounding you with people that are doing where you want to be heading, I think that's a really great, I guess, an attribute that I know I strive for.
Hmm.
Just trying to surround yourself by greater people. So I love that story for
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. So do you,
Thank
now
you.
you have, I know you've started in several different roles with Cultivated, and did you just recently take on the operation management position, or is that kind of just evolved into it over the years?
Yeah, it was kind of, I would say, evolved within the years. So when I first started, he hired me as an editor, So I didn't really get to have any say on the pictures, like the picture count, the angles, how many houses we did per day, none of that stuff. That was just kind of like Tyler's role. And I feel like he wanted me to get in that role like as soon as I got hired, but that was just something that it was probably going to be very overwhelming for me. So he started me out as an editor, and that means just editing the houses, making them look better on Photoshop and on in Lightroom. And then after, I believe a little bit, like I would say like 6 months after that, he started to put more responsibilities on me. Obviously, like with more responsibilities, the pay became higher. So yeah, he started doing that, and up until very, I would say last year around November, that's when me and him kind of talked about like my role here and what I was going to do and everything. So I told him that I wanted to do something better now that I'm gonna get my degree. So he offered me the position of operations manager, and obviously I took it. I mean, I knew everything now, so it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be easy, but obviously there's a lot of problems that come whenever
Yeah.
people shoot houses. Some people are not prepared, and it comes with a lot of
Been
issues. But
there.
it's yeah,
I always
but
like
it's
when
yeah.
I see you call the photographer supposed to be at one of our houses, I'm like, what do we do?
Or what didn't we
What
Yeah.
do?
do we do? Wait, where is the agent that's supposed to be meeting you there right now? What's happening? For sure. Um, so what would you say? So when we're talking about you're saying now that you know what you should be looking for, you know how houses should be presented, etc. So what would you say is some of the most common mistakes that you see agents make? Like when we're talking about prepping and preparing a house, we're talking about with the listing side of things, most of that legwork that is done to get you to your sign in the yard is done before the photographer even shows up. So what would you say is some of the things that you see that you're like, man, if the agent only would have done this or that, it would have turned out like the product would have turned out so much better. What would you say
Before
you
you
think is,
answer that,
yeah.
that's going to be, I'm like really interested in this question because everybody looks at houses online
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, oh my gosh, they didn't clear the counter. There's laundry everywhere. So I'm just interested to see how you answer that because I know like some of the
From
mistakes
a
I
from a
see.
consumer side of
Yeah,
things, yep.
just curious on how, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was very surprised. Whenever I started this role, I was so surprised how many agents do not look at the house before taking the pictures. Like, I look at some houses, and honestly, kind of most of them, they look like they have never been there. Like, no prepping, and that just affects the listing completely. Like, it just looks bad. Even if the photography is like extremely good, it just makes the house look awful. But yeah, some of the mistakes that I keep seeing even now, the thing that bothers me the most, and the thing that I always try to edit out on the pictures, is just stuff under the bed. They always leave it. You
Mm-hmm.
always see it in the angles, in the ceilings too. They leave like balloons that they think that we're not gonna see, or just kind of like decorations that are like from a party or something that they had like a few weeks ago. um,
Mm-hmm.
they don't really clean any of the appliances either, and with the glare that we have on the camera, like it shows, you can see like the dirt from like the dishwasher, or the kitchen, or the cabinets look like they haven't been touched in forever. Whenever we take that front entrance picture, the door looks bad most of the time. It looks like it
Mm-hmm.
hasn't cleaned. But honestly, especially the houses that you guys prep look amazing. Every time I have your listings, I'm like, thank God, because I don't have to do that much work on Photoshop. And
Well, that would be the hardest thing having your job is like I would want to be like edit, 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 where the whole house is like it's nothing like it looks like.
Yeah,
I would have such a hard time restraining myself to not edit this into a perfect scenarios. I would not envy that
I
at
know.
all.
I like left an Amazon Alexa on a nightstand or something and she was like, why didn't you move this? I was like, I don't know.
Well, and I recently have seen in our listings, and I've been starting to watch because we get delivered from Cultivated. They deliver the unedited and then the edited, and so I'm starting to see under the bed. She's starting to edit under the bed,
Mm,
and I'm like, really, when you're in person, it's so hard. You have to train yourself to think like the camera. Like it's like, okay, what angle is the camera going to get? Because the way you position things onto shelves and things like that, this angle might make sense in person, but that angle might make sense in front of the camera. And it's learning learning that over time. But the bed is something in person,
Well, you got to
never.
think, yeah, the angle because you're standing above it and
Yep.
it's not as easy to see. But when you're coming from the different angles, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious to know what is the limit on like removing things in Photoshop? Like, can you just like create a whole new space or is it tougher
Well,
than?
it would be tougher to do it. Like we can declutter an entire house. Like it could just look vacant, but that would probably cost money. So the way we decided here is if it's above my skill set, then it would call advanced editing. So if I can do it, then I'll just do it for free for you guys. But most of the time, we do have a limit on how much I have to spend per house, just because we have so many appointments. I only allot myself like 30 minutes to edit a house, even though I could take like 2 days. If the house is really bad, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to like really, really try to make it look better. But at the same time, I know that legally we're not allowed to remove certain things. So even if it looks bad, I really don't have a say in whether I should remove it or not. Like, if the paint is off, then I would have you guys permission to tell me to do it, or just anything on the outside, or like removing the cables from the outside that you can see on the house, just
Hmm,
kind of outlining
Yeah.
it. I can't remove
Like the
that
power
either.
lines.
Yeah, or like the boxes that are outside either. I can't do that anything. So yeah, I think I only edit out like if I have a slower day, I try to do it as much as possible. But the things that I remove the most are cables, of course,
that's my
and
favorite.
trash. Yeah, no, they take so long. Cables. After I started working here, I think like a month after, I started dreaming about cables for like 2 or 3 months. Like every time I step into a house, I just look at them and I'm like, just hide them, please. I can't look at them right now.
We try really
Um,
hard to make sure we're tucking them, especially when you're talking about like choosing a photographer and all, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But when you're talking about that, you may not have a photographer that does the editing styles, etc. Cultivated is probably one of the top real estate. I mean, they for sure are in Middle Tennessee, but if you are comparing them to options that you have, most photographers are not going to edit to the level or have the care and concern for that. So I think that, when you're prepping and preparing, if you can tuck those things, if you can unplug and, tuck like wires and things like behind furniture, etc., that's going to make all the difference. And you really don't think that it does. But when you have, a consumer that's looking mainly for their properties online through, all of the different websites that they're searching before they even get into those properties, those things can be make it or break it. And I think that like what you were talking about, the decluttering, I heard you say trash, like who is leaving trash? I'm like, I'm dying over a trash can, but you actually mean like literal trash in their properties. There's so many agents who just truly do not take the care and concern to do the work ahead of time. We always talk to our clients about 75% of the work as a seller is done up until that listing appointment, or up until the photography appointment. So from listing appointment to photography, that seller is doing about 70%, 75% of the work. And then after that, it's kind of our job at that point, and then smooth sailing to get them to the closing table. But with that, there should be a list that you're preparing those sellers for, and then there should be a list that you're doing yourself as well, adding value to that as well. Anything else that you can think of besides trash and cables? Anything, any other pet peeves that you have that you're constantly seeing that you're just like, okay, guys, like get on the same level. I love the idea about appliances, because we talk to
Hmm.
our clients that cleaning matters for showings, not so much for the actual photography appointment. So making sure we're identifying the cabinets, the front door. We do talk about making sure that's freshly painted or cleaned, and then the appliances, making sure that those are
Hmm.
shined. But anything else that you can think of that would be like key points that you're seeing quite often?
Yeah, the floors too. I usually try to edit that, and it's pretty simple to do it on Lightroom. But like you were saying, most photographers don't really spend that much time editing, and that's
Hmm.
why we leave the before and after, so our clients see that we do spend time with it, and we don't really like charge more for that. I've seen for like our competitors, I just look at them and I'm just like, how did you not edit
Yeah.
that out? Like it just annoys me. But yeah, there is like a bunch of trash, not only just below the bed, but below all the couches. Like there's always stuff below the couches that
Hmm.
people don't really see. Toys like dog bowls, any kind of like playtime toys from either a child or a dog. They're always just like hidden somewhere because I guess the parents didn't know that the kids left them there.
Oh
um
yeah, I mean, if you lifted up my couch right now, you could probably feed a small family. Like, I'm constantly vacuuming under that
Yeah.
thing. You never know what you're gonna find,
Yeah.
honestly.
That is true.
Pokemon cards and
That's true. I feel like there's so many different things that you kind of have to look like top to bottom, but I think that in that preparing your seller for 75% of the work. And we also say to them too, like, hey, we're prepping to move. We're not prepping to list, we're prepping to move. So those things being packed up into a shed, getting a storage unit into the garage, into closets, etc. Like you're gonna have to clean out from underneath your couch, underneath your bed,
yeah.
those kind of things. So prepping and preparing them that this is just part of the process and their expectation management of that, I think is
Well,
the
and I tell
difference.
them too, you're not decluttering because I'm not trying to say that your house is cluttery. It might be cluttery, but I'm going to say that we're pre-packing
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want them to think that I think their house is a cluttered mess and then it's not going to sell. But hey, you should start pre-packing because you're going to move all this stuff anyway. Just pre-pack it. It's
Yeah.
already
And
packed.
we have military here in this area. So when we talk about pre-packing, like the last couple of families I've helped, they're pre-packing. They're like, no, the military, the military, the military. And so I'm like, okay, we're pre-organizing then.
Yeah.
We're organizing this into boxes for the military to be moving. Or the
Yeah.
movers. I mean, if you have professional movers with these sellers, a lot of times they're like, they're going to do that. Okay, well then let's pre-organize. You got to get yourself situated so you don't have a mess on
Yep.
the other side of that for sure. Um, Anything else that you think that you can add to that, like mistakes that the agents make? Anything more to add?
yeah, I mean, usually we allow the photographer like 10-20 minutes to prep the house. I mean, usually we expect our clients to do it, but we do not mind if we do have the time to do it. What they do and what they tell me that they have to move, it's a bunch of kind of like clothes that are just like hanging like hats on like the doors. That looks
Hmm.
bad. I try to edit that out, but sometimes that doesn't really work out. Any stickers on like the walls. um, and we prefer people to remove excess furniture just because it makes the house look bigger. So,
Yeah.
and we can't really edit that out. There's so many times where I see like a couch or like a table that just doesn't really have to be there. And it would
Yeah.
look a lot better if it didn't. Yeah, making sure that the sink looks good, doesn't have any dishes or anything. You would not believe how many dishes I would have to edit out of all the kitchens. I don't know why. I
Crazy. It's so crazy.
and and any cleaning supplies, either like a mop. There's so many mops everywhere. I don't know why. Like dish soap, all those things, just put them away. We do not want to see that. And sometimes I don't really have the time to edit that out either. um and the kitchen counters just to be fully clean. I think maybe something for like the decor that looks good, but there's nothing really there that needs to be on the kitchen counter. um and all the pets put away for sure. There's so many times where I've had to edit out cats. I don't know, cats love being in pictures, but it's
They
just.
do.
And then sometimes when we take detail shots, most of the time it has like spider webs that you can see on the pictures because it's like so
The,
close up. So
the
we have
agent
to clean those
orders
too.
they order detail shots and then they don't clean the things
The
that are
area.
underneath.
Yeah.
Here's this fancy picture that hasn't been cleaned in 6 months. Here's your detail of that.
Oh my gosh.
That's crazy. And
Yeah.
then I see agents put those onto MLS. Like that's the hard thing is like seeing that actually being delivered to the market. It's like, wait, if we made that mistake, that would not
Well, that's if
maybe
they
not there
even
too.
use professional photography.
Yeah.
My favorite is when there's like a finger in the
Hmm.
camera or a person,
Yeah.
like with a cell phone picture. It's like, why didn't you just ask them to leave?
But I think that I think pre Tyler age, because like the history of Cultivated, they've been in my business for about 7 to 8 years. I use other professional photographers previous to Tyler coming into the industry. But I think that we definitely are super blessed by having an awesome photography company. When I was working in Alabama, I was using professional photographers. When I before Tyler came into this marketplace, was using other professional photographers. A lot of what Dolce is talking about though is them spoiling the heck out of us. So when
Oh
we're
yeah.
talking about these things, it's like, hey, our photographers do 10 to 20 minutes to do your job for you. Like, that's ridiculous. And I
Yeah.
think that the 90% of the people listening are not going to have photographers that are invested into the listing process, like Cultivated is. And I think that what you need to take away is, okay, here's my to-do list. Because when I say 75% of the process is you getting your sellers ready, you're part of probably 50% of that, making sure. And I, even with having a great photography company, we're still doing at least 50% of that. So if you don't have a photographer that's going to do the editing, that's going to catch those things, that's going to come and have your back, that's okay. That's been me, certainly. You just need to set yourself up for success. And I think that if you can just get a little better each time, taking, okay, I did all of these tips and tricks that taking notes, all the tips and tricks that we have. Look at your photos after it's done. So see what you missed and what wasn't caught, like under the bed. Like I was saying, I'm like, wait, I just saw the Dolce's, delivering before and after under the beds, where I'm like, it's fine, just shove it to the center. Well, somehow the camera caught the center of the underneath the
Yeah.
bed. And I mean, it's not terrible because it's, organized under there, but it looks so much better where your eye doesn't travel to that. Your eye is traveling that room, so they get to the next photo over and over again. So I think that even if you don't have a photography company that is going to have your back, that's going to do the editing, you need to be educating yourself from those pictures. How do I get a little bit better each time? And then maybe you start to look for a photographer that will help partner with you through that process.
Yeah.
Anything else to add on that?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know that we are extra, but I've done it where like Mark's come with the truck and helped haul stuff away to their storage unit because pictures were like that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just helping your clients any way that you can. So and especially too, if they're just not, if the needle's not moving, where I tell my clients, hey, send me a picture if you're unsure if this needs to stay or go, or send me a picture when you think this room is done. I did have one client though before send me a picture of their kitchen, and I was like, wow, you did such a great job. But their back was to the dining room, and that's where they put all the stuff. And I was like, that's not, but she never sent me that picture. So when I showed up the day of pictures, I was like, what is all of this?
And I think that's when we started implementing too, where you do your initial listing appointment, then you might do a prep appointment, then you do a follow-up prep appointment. Very few times do we go from listing appointment to showing up for
Oh yeah.
photography day without having multiple trips to the property. But I think that is us, like you said,
Yeah.
we're extra. But I do think that helps our days on market, that helps the relationship with the photographer that we're working with. It helps with, referral business. Altogether, that is time well spent through the process. And really, it's making that product that you have to sell, because we just talked about from stuck to sold, that's going to help that not be part of the equation, where you're prepping and preparing the best product that you can put to the market. And sometimes that is, we have helped literal hoarders that had passed from their front door to their garage door. We have helped that kind of scenario all the way up to, I like to say, like Joanna Gaines' house, where it's like that was a listing appointment to. Those are always like the best scenarios.
They are far and few between. So
yeah, because it's real life. If you came into my house, everyone's like, oh, you stage houses. It's perfect. Yeah, okay. Ask my husband. Ask my husband how perfect my house is.
Well, my favorite is like after I'm done prepping a house, I come home and I hate my house and I'm like rage mode cleaning. Yeah. Why is this on the counter? And why, like, pick up your stuff. This is unacceptable. And then Mark will be like, did you just stage a house today? Like, did you have pictures today? And I'm like, yes, I did.
And mine is the polar opposite. I'll come home and I'm like, oh, we're not that bad.
Oh man, no.
If you just saw 123 Short Street, you would be sitting here in your happiness right now.
Yeah, no. I come home like rage mode. Like, what squalor are we living in?
No, same. Me and Tyler, we always say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine you seeing all of these houses. You're just like, what's going on?
No,
What's
me and him
going
are
on?
always like, oh, we feel so like we go home and we're like, at least my house is not as bad as the other one. Like,
Oh
it just
yeah.
feels.
Yeah, that happens sometimes too.
Yeah, literally. I mean, I don't know. You can always say the grass is greener, and you can always be super judgy from your own throne. I think that for each individual listing that you have, you're charged with the responsibility to help prepare them for the best foot forward for the market, and that's could be partnering with a specific company, but I mean, I would say the bulk of it is us
Yeah.
really making sure that we're setting them up for success.
And I think too, once you do your listing appointment, schedule those follow-up
Yep,
visits. I had a listing appointment yesterday, and I already have 3 times that I'm popping by before pictures because
yep.
they're renovating, they're moving. Like there's just a lot of moving parts. I went in there and their whole bathroom was torn apart, and they're like, movers are coming Wednesday, and I was like, wait, what? We're like, no.
We have to have a bathroom in order to
Yeah,
schedule.
so I'm like a little concerned with that, but I already told them like, hey, I'll be back next week. I'm here to help, all the things. So,
So you're about to be putting in a toilet next week, is what you're
oh my
saying?
gosh, I mean, toilets aren't that hard to install. It'll be fine. Mark.
I mean, Mark, have you noticed everything is Mark solves all the problems? Like, how did I get this into this?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. That's
Oh
too funny.
man.
What would you say if you were looking at like if you just could narrow down to 3 top tips for an agent that's prepping and preparing outside of our chaos that we just talked about? Anything that you can add for just top tips that you're like, okay, if you could just do these 3 things to start with, what would you say would be even if it's a repeat of what we talked about?
Yeah, obviously, like you guys do such a good job about this, but make sure that you declutter the important areas, which is the living room, the kitchen, the primary bathroom, and then the backyard and the front yard, for sure.
Hmm.
There is
Often forgot
a
about.
yeah, there's a lot of trash on the front or the back, especially whenever the homeowners or the sellers don't really see, like I said, like left toys, or then kind of like just water bottles, or like just regular trash that people just leave, either the neighbors or, and that happens usually in the front of the house. But on the back of the house, I think it's super important just to take everything out. I know that most people, and I'm guilty of that too, I just like the things that don't look right in my house, I just put it in the backyard, and I don't really go that there that often. So like the mop and like all the things, all the cleaning supplies, I put them there. Just put them inside while we're taking the exterior. So it should be simpler, but most people don't do it. The second thing, like I mentioned, just cleaning the surfaces, the kitchen counters, the dishwashers, the mirrors too, because like I said, we use flash photography. So whenever we take pictures of mirrors or just like the bathroom, you can see like the water spots on them. And, sometimes it's kind of hard to edit that out, but I mean, it should be simple, just kind of like, wiping it with something so it doesn't look as bad. And lastly, removing um, unnecessary products out of like anywhere in the house, like in the kitchen, especially in the bathroom, kind of like shampoo, soaps, all those things, towels, all of that should be tucked away. And that's really important, just because the photographers most of the time or sometimes don't really feel comfortable touching personal items. So
I
sometimes
don't
we're
think anyone
left to
feels
just,
comfortable with that.
yeah.
Right.
So most of the time, editing tile on Photoshop is so hard. So sometimes I have to leave them there, and we don't want to touch any kind of like clothes in the shower or anything left out. I've had a picture that we have to leave that had like a bra on the picture because I couldn't edit it out, and I was just like, the photographer's not going to touch that. So
Yeah.
make sure all of your like items are pushed away, especially in like bathrooms and stuff where you are able to leave them there. So
I think it's a really good starting checklist too. Like a lot of that stuff, making sure with the seller. And I think that doing the visit the day before photography, or even being like, hey, the first hour, the day of photography, we're going to walk through and see if there's anything like those kind of things that you need to be able to tuck away. I've had another thought talking through this because I've here recently had people that are in too small houses. Like they have too much stuff. They're in
Mm.
too small of a house. They maybe settled in the last couple of years to purchase a house that was not the right fit, and I would give your clients freedom to have like a no show, no photography room. So I know right now I have a listing. It actually went multiple offers this weekend that we had it was basically a storage room. She had run out of room in the garage. She had way too much stuff, storage unit in the backyard, etc. And so what we did was, in order to get the other rooms prepped, we took an extra bedroom. Now it was, I would say, you showed the house
Hmm.
semi-organized. She's sitting here with judgment, and
I'm
she's
so
like,
mad because it got rejected yesterday.
she is part of the multiple offers. But giving your clients the freedom, because if they're saying, I don't have any place to put this, create the place to put it. So if there's really no place in cabinets, no place in closets, the garage is full, the storage unit, they can't afford an external like storage unit company, I would give them the freedom to be like, okay, we're going to take this bedroom, we're going to organize this, nicely so it could still be shown, but it's not going to be photographed, to get everything else to 100%. So that would be another tip in all of that, because I know like that was a very much an objection that was
Hmm.
continuously coming in at the very beginning, where it was like, okay, I have no place to put it. And it's, yeah, that's most of the time. You have people that are upgrading because they've run out of room.
Yeah.
So a kind of an insider tip on adding to what Dolce said. Those are really good 3 key points, though.
Yeah, I agree. I've done that before, in quite a few listings because it's like, or like, with the military town, husbands will have an
Oh,
office
military.
that's like man cave, I guess. Like that's just not cute. And so you can just put all this stuff in there. Like it becomes the junk room now.
It's
I
not
agree.
cute.
Not cute.
I agree. I agree with that too.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about kind of what to look for in a photographer and some other things, that products that Cultivated offers and that maybe you should look for in your local market.
We just have to break in so that they're able to pull apart the podcast here. So you're doing really great. I feel like this has been really good,
Yeah, I agree.
actually.
I don't.
Um,
Thank you. I feel so nervous.
that's how we feel 90% of the time. Only when there's technical difficulties in the beginning.
Which is only when we have guests. There's never been a time that me and Tiffany have had like an issue when it's just us.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's easy because you know us, where a lot of times the guests come on and they don't really have a real true understanding
Yeah, like
of
one guy had to leave and come back an hour later because we're like, we can't
What?
figure this
yeah, we had technical difficulties, and he's like, "Can I just come back later?" It was
Yeah.
great. It was 10 out of 10. We're making it
Ooh.
big. We're crushing it over here. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about basically specific things about photography. I'm talking about like your ancillary services, your add-ons, and things like that. Stuff that would make a difference in the saleability of listings, marketing, etc.
Okay.
Right?
Do you want to come back?
I always feel like whenever I intro, I bomb it. So let's you intro and you outros.
Okay.
Are you in?
What? It's not an intro again. It's just, hey, Dolce, what would you say?
Okay. Here, we'll try it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Welcome back. Dolce, what would you say would be one of the, like a few of the best qualities that a agent should be looking for when they're trying to search for a photographer to partner with their listing? So what are some of the qualities that they should be maybe in interviewing or searching and researching for a photographer?
I would say definitely you should search for a photographer that can offer multiple products and is using like latest technology. Actually, we just switch our cameras to better cameras. I'm not like super like technical with it, but they look a lot better. And definitely people that use flash photography, that just makes the room look a lot, the colors look a lot better basically. And
Mm.
even if there's like some people don't replace their light bulbs, so one of them is like different colors, one is yellow, one is, it's just a lot of different things, and we are able to make it just to like one specific color that just looks a lot better. um and just somebody who is available and willing to help you guys kind of do the job that we're supposed to be doing, prepping the house. And even though we're not supposed to most of the time, we usually do because we like to help our clients the most. And just also somebody that has a quick turnaround time.
Yep, I was going to say
Mm.
availability, accessibility, and then the turnaround time, because your clients, your sellers think photography, listing.
Mm-hmm.
A good person that you're partnering with is going to be a 1 to 2 day turnaround at at the quickest. And so preparing them for what does this timeline look like for that best photography, I think a good
Yeah.
point to say.
Yeah, I would say too, ask if they do the editing
Hmm.
because like you were saying, there's a lot of things that people don't think about that you're able to edit out instead of someone who just takes a picture and here it is kind of thing.
Yeah, and I also think that you brought up flash photography and the difference from what is the type of, and we might not even know what this is, but I used a photographer that was doing some type of editing and my photos were so yellow. Do you know what I'm talking about
Mm.
when I say that, Dolce?
I think
The
so.
type of edit?
So we used brackets to take our pictures. So we don't like for the iPhone. We just take like one picture and that's it, and it
Hmm.
just kind of looks. The colors are kind of off depending on the corners of the room. And when we use
Yes.
like
Yep.
hand blended photography, which is like the fast photography, is that we take about 3 to 4 pictures of the exact same angle. So we use a tripod, so we don't have to like move the camera, and we take it in the lowest light and in the like I guess the lightest light. So we take it really dark and really bright, and then we hand blend that. So we pick where the light should be and where the shadows should be, so we have control of the entire room. So that's
Mm.
why it might look off a little bit. So for example, like if they have yellow lights, because they haven't changed the light bulbs, we're able to pick like where we would want the light to go in the room, so it looks more spacious, and it makes it look, a lot better, like more alive, kind of like perfect almost.
Yes, literally. It's like true defined color, very sharp photography. And in previous photographers that I use, other companies, years, 10, 15 years in the past, the haziness on the ends at the outside of the photos is what you were referring to, but they did not use flash photography, did not kind of piece together each individual photo. Like the whole process to really listen to like how to get that finished product is insane. And then the turnaround time is like it only takes a day for that to get turned around, like the amount of editing and just really fine detail to that. But I also think that one of the ways I know, like as Tyler was coming into the marketplace here, people were reaching out to me based off of my MLS photos, like, hey, who is this new person? Who are you using? So in your actual area, make sure that you're looking at the MLS and then reaching out to those agents and saying, hey, who is your photographer? You're seeing several people using the same one, kind of reach out and see, okay, this is the finished product that I want to be going after. What company, what person is that? Another point to add to that too is that looking for a specific real estate photographer and not just a photographer, an architectural photographer, someone that is used to shooting buildings and homes and not people, because
Hmm.
it's completely two different skill sets, in my opinion, um, when it comes to having the fine attention to detail. I know that that has made a difference as well. Anything else that you can think of from that?
Yeah, I remember when you guys came out with the Twilight photo, and that was like our secret sauce, and now everybody gets one.
Well,
But
it was a cost at first because at first Tyler was literally missing dinner. He would say, he would literally, the appointment was named "Make Me Miss Dinner with My Family,"
oh
because
my gosh.
it was like how we scheduled it, and he would be out there. His photographers would be out there at sunset, and he would be missing dinner with his family
Mm.
every night. It was awesome. He still doesn't let me live that down. But
Nobody.
now, right. Now that's still an option for sure. And that product is very much like it's like a painted
Hmm.
picture of a sunset. But now, what's the difference now in the real still twilights versus the edited twilights that you guys are doing as a product
Yeah.
line?
So, I believe there's kind of like a big difference. Obviously, the first thing is the price. The Fox Twilights are a lot cheaper, but it just looks more real. If I wish I had like two pictures side by side so I can show you, but like it looks a little bit flat, the Fox Twilight, and it works and it looks great. I do try to edit it as much as possible, but on the real Twilight, the colors of the sky look a lot better. It looks more real,
Yeah.
and the lights of the house look a lot better
Hmm.
because whenever we take the picture on the daylight, we don't really know where all the light fixtures are. So we're just kind of doing like a really good estimate on like, oh, maybe they have a porch light, maybe there's going to be light right here. But on the real twilight, you're able to actually showcase how the house looks at night, and all the time it looks gorgeous. We prefer the real twilights over the fake twilights, but the fake twilights look just as good too.
And
Hmm.
we'll post some examples of what we're talking about with that. But having the option of having a sunset type of photo, I think the difference and the reason we invest in those for our listings is when you're looking at the MLS and you're going through the same photo over and over and over again, like the quality of the photo, and all of a sudden you hit something that has, a moody sunset,
Yeah.
better lighting. I feel like just everything looks better at that golden hour, and it's creating that when you have consumers going through, hundreds of houses that they're looking to consider, and having that be something that sets you apart. So if that is an option, I think that outside of just a professional photographer, the Twilight, whether it's, a real or a faux Twilight, I think either
Hmm.
one makes sense to do.
It's just whatever makes the consumer stop their scroll.
Yeah, literally. Yep.
Like it's
It's
your first picture that they see and they're like, "Oh wow, this one has a sunset." Or this
mhm.
one's like kind of dark. You see, and then that's what disrupts their search and they're like, "Oh wow, this house is really nice," because then they see all the other perfect pictures with the staging and the clean appliances and the no trash and the nothing under the bed, and then they're sold.
Well, and I think that's why it's a good thing for you to turn yourself into the consumer to figure out, okay, who do I need to be like, and
Hmm.
what am I seeing, and then coaching my clients into that direction as well. But I think all of those were key points as far as of what to be asking, like how to interview for a photographer, just like you're interviewed as a listing agent too.
Hmm.
So when we're talking about ancillary services, we just talked about the Twilight photo. What other things do you guys offer, and what other things should a agent consider looking for in a photographer for extra add-ons that you guys do?
Yeah, so actually, right now, what it's selling the most with us is the floor plans and our social media package. So right
Mm.
now, we do reels and vertical style videos, as well as the horizontal style videos. But yeah, floor plans, detail shots. Um, the one that I really like the most, and I really wish most more people would buy this, is the grass replacement.
Yes.
I know
Mm.
that most of the time, some people don't really have the time or the money to like make their grass look better at their yard. So we just replace it on Photoshop, and it looks a lot better. There's so many new construction homes that I would love to just throw them in there, but I can't. So definitely, I always recommend doing the grass edits because it's just like for us, it's not that expensive to offer, and all the other things that matter, like the big packages that have the video, the 3D tour, um, and then we have, like I mentioned, real twilight, and then aerial photography is so important if you have like a big listing or a big piece of land that you want to try to highlight too. So I
Yeah,
would
and I
say
feel like that's been a lot of the things that have been added over time too. So I think that hit most of the points. Grass editing was going to be one of the things I was like, that is um, key, especially if you're not doing the Twilight photos. Just editing the grass in the
Well,
front there
yeah.
too.
I mean, well, even if it's just like, I mean, Tennessee gets so hot and dry that a lot of the grass dies here, but it's so helpful in like the fall and winter months to get some of that green grass in
Hmm.
there just to make your listing look more alive.
Yeah, different than everything else,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure.
Awesome.
And another thing that we just implemented, like it wasn't just so recently, but it was kind of like this couple months, and things that you have been nailing, it's the agent walkthroughs. Those I have gotten so many good feedback on those, that they're really good. They're catching the audience and they're really informative. And yeah, and you guys are so good at it too. I love looking at them.
We hate them. We 10 out of 10 don't recommend them, but they're doing the job just like you say. It's funny because Ashley recently was like, "How is our traction on those? It's terrible. Let's cancel them. Never do them again. Never do them
Oh,
again."
Oh, the
So the
videos.
video, yes,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Well, I think that like, I don't know. I felt like they were all just kind of starting to feel the same, but we did switch them up a little
Hmm.
bit so they're different. But I felt like I was like, how much can I say about each bedroom? That's
Mhm.
a bedroom with a closet and a window. It's just like,
You have to get creative with each listing when it's like
yeah.
not really a creative thing. So what we're referring to is, you have a property video where you can just have beautiful music and everything going through the property, which I would say more than half of the agents that do video for an add-on are doing that. But we go a step further. It's an additional cost and it's a time cost for our agents to be present at the property and be on camera, which we know people sell the story of home. And so having the ability to walk through and create that story, we just have to get out of the rut of like, oh, it's a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, 2 car garage, close to Fort Campbell. Like we have to create that story. A lot of that comes from pulling the favorites and the what we
Hmm.
loved about the home from the owners,
Yeah.
for sure.
I've learned that too, where it's like pulling the stories from the owner, where you can be like, oh, this massive island, like we did a cookie baking with all the neighbors or whatever it is. And you can tell that story so that way the next person can be like, oh man, I like to make cookies. Maybe they'll want to still come,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and oh, so sorry.
you're good.
I was just gonna say, one of our clients actually, I think it was a condo that they did, and they had like a game room, and on his video, he was just playing on the game room, and he actually jumped into the pool with his clothes on, and we got that on video, and like
I
all
wanted
these
to do
different
that.
things.
There was one
Yeah.
listing I talked about it with, I think Edwin. I don't remember. I don't remember who it was, but I was like, I want to come back and jump in the pool. Like for the ending, I think that would be really funny. But I've done it where like I've shot the basketball into the hoop before I missed, and Edwin was like, "We'll just edit it to make it look like you made it." And I was like, "Okay." So
The same thing with pool. We had a pool table and one of our listings, and the same thing. I'm like, I'm terrible at pool. He's like, it's fine. Just stand behind there and then we'll edit it. And it was like amazing shot that was
yeah,
edited, for sure. We should have told Lisa on Dale Terrace we just had a pool. Why didn't she jump in that pool? We need to start. It's a requirement now. Any pool listings, jump
no
in.
matter what season it is, cold plunge. It's good for you.
Go
That would be
find you're
awesome.
jumping in. That's hilarious. We've thought about it, but then we're like, yeah, but we have 62 appointments after this. We got to go straight to.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think that though, having yourself in front of the camera, obviously it's already a proven thing. No one likes it. I mean, years later, we're still like, oh,
I feel like I'm the most chill about it. Like I have no problem because I'm awkward. I
she
know I'm
literally
awkward.
just had the conversation that said, are these getting traction? We need to cancel these.
Yeah, because they weren't getting traction and they were becoming really stale
Oh,
of like,
that was just yours.
oh, well, maybe it is mine. I don't know. But I mean, I put my face on my social media every day.
It's getting stale.
That's not true. I'm going viral every day.
Elsie and I are here to give you an intervention to let
So
you
just
know.
stop putting my face on camera.
To
Yeah.
let you know it's not working. That's just the intervention. So,
All right, whatever.
no, just kidding. Oh goodness.
If I don't need to do the videos, it's fine.
No, we do, and it's great, and it's working. We're just saying. I can't think of anything else for add-ons to be considering and looking for. I don't know. Was there anything else that we've done for over the years? Anything you can think of, Dolce, of add-on options?
Yeah, so let's see. I'm just gonna run through like the ones that we have. Like grass edits for plants. We have two different sets of aerials. Just if the land is not that big, we offer 2 to 3 aerials. But if it's a bigger land, then we offer 10 detail shots, and I would recommend those to Airbnbs. We usually do them a little
Mm.
bit different, just because we like to highlight amenities and all the stuff that they offer there. And then yeah, the grass replacement, which I love, and we have other add-ons for certain packages. So for some videos we have like aerial add-on, so it's just like just small video clips. And then yeah, but sometimes we do like the agent interview as an add-on for packages that include video already. So
Yeah, I think that having someone that was just like your little teaser on how to interview for a real estate photographer. I
Mhm.
think that even if it's a small amount of that, finding somebody that is offering more than just coming in behind the camera, has lighting with them, doing the editing, the care and concern, that's the type of photographer you want to be partnering with and starting moving forward to.
Yeah.
Anything besides your iPhone,
With your
literally,
finger in
yes.
it.
with your finger in it and your body in the
And
mirror. Any of that?
I also just thought about two more that actually we've been getting a lot of. We all now offer neighborhood highlights, so we go around the neighborhood and just kind of highlight the community. If they have a pool or a center where people just
Like a
like hang
park.
out, or a park nearby, we usually just go around the neighborhood and do that, and a lot of people like them. And the second thing is staging. If the house is vacant,
Yep.
the staging that we do, I'm like amazed by it. It's so good. It looks real to me. Like I would not know. So, and it looks a lot better if it's a vacant house or a new construction.
So you're talking about virtual staging, right? Like where you're
Yes.
placing the furniture into that. Yeah, that's a new service that they've added. And I've seen that. What bothers me is when an agent goes through and they list the property and they list right next to each other, staged, virtually staged, and empty. I'm a like I'm like, please do not put a faux Twilight and then the same exact photo right afterwards where you know that's fake. Like, how are you going to get someone to get past that? So, if you're doing that, my advice would be like, okay, all of the edited stuff, put that to the front to get them through the photos. And then, yes, you should be, here's the vacant property. You should be disclosing the disclosure laws on a lot of this edited stuff is going to need to be broker checked. And then your associations that you're in, you make sure that that's against or that's within advertising rules and not against it. Some of the stuff Dolce talked about, we cannot edit out in the state of Tennessee or Kentucky. So make sure you're cross-referencing that. But my advice is within compliance, the pretty stuff needs to go first. When you're organizing that through the MLS, it doesn't matter. You don't have to show 10 of the kitchen as the very first pictures before you get to the living room. Pick your best 4 to 5 photos. Let those be the ones that catch them so that you're getting the consumer to click through those photos to get through the rest of the pictures, just to kind of get them more bought in on the property. That's going to increase the amount of showings that you have.
Yep.
For sure. All right. Anything else that you have to add?
I don't think so. I think we're ready for our 4 questions.
Yes, I think so too. Dolce, you have anything else as far as figuring out how to pick a photographer? Any other advice that you can give to the listener?
Just pick the cultivated coat. I'm just kidding.
Which is in Tennessee.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, if you could find a cultivated co near you, I mean, I think that is a huge part of our success as listing agents for sure. But I do also know that there is a big network of people that Tyler has grown with over the years. It's not just exclusive to Middle Tennessee, although we do think that's probably the best in the country. Let us know if it's not.
Yeah.
But I think that's covered quite a bit. So,
all right. So we ask our guests the same 4 questions every time. So what are some hobbies that you have outside of real estate, photography, and work?
Well, let me see. Because, like I mentioned, like earlier, I wanted to major in art, and drawing has been always one of my big hobbies. I tried to take it seriously before I went to college. Like I went into some contest here, actually downtown, and I won a couple of awards. But now that this job is like my life, and I love it. I really love what I do. I love editing, and that's the reason why I got it, because I already had experience in Photoshop and Lightroom. So I'm not really into the videography side, but that's something that I've always loved, and hopefully one day I get into it. But yeah, art and video are like my main 2 things that I love to do.
what would you say is one of the books that you've read over the years that has been impactful in kind of getting you to where you are today? Like an impactful, doesn't have to be real estate or photography related, but a book that you've read that you would say has impacted who you are.
I read.
I was going to say, or podcast. Like if you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, she's all about podcasts. She always says that. I'm like, what's the book that you listen to? She's like, it's a podcast. The podcasts are fine.
Yeah. Or I'll tell her something and she's like, oh my gosh, where did you read that? And I was like, it was on a podcast.
I didn't read it. I listened to it.
Yeah, let me see. Actually, I mostly listen to crime podcasts. I'm not gonna lie.
I love that. People always talk about that. I've never listened to one, but I feel like I feel like I would like it as bad as that sounds.
I don't. So Sabrina, who works with us, Sabrina, she listens to them, and I'll catch that. Like I'll catch, and I'm just like, the animation of the people's voices that do that is not. I'm like, I know it's a
I
no for
mean,
me.
like, I grew up watching Unsolved Mysteries.
But it's not. So that's what you would expect it would be. But it's like these female voices that you're just like, what? You're like,
I'm gonna try
with
it.
like a moody. At least the ones that I've caught Sabrina listening to. I'm like, this is not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like you, Dolce, though, where I'm like, okay, a motivational, change my life book or podcast. No.
40X.
Yeah, 40X for sure.
Let me
It's
see.
changed my life so much I can't remember. No big deal.
So, I used to be a big reader, especially whenever I was learning English. So I read Atomic Habits, it's a really good book.
Mm.
I really do
Yes.
like that one. And
Yes.
when it comes to podcast, I mainly listen to crime, and it's in Spanish because I still like to listen to stuff in Spanish. And I also listen to video podcast. I really like it. There's one called No Film School podcast, which is just kind of like talks about movies and tips and tricks on how to be a better videographer. So that's usually what I listen to whenever I edit all of these houses every single day.
Oh, nice.
That is a really good point too. Like while you're sitting on the computer, I didn't even think about listening to something in like your primary language. That would totally make sense. Just see, because you're not practicing you speaking Spanish every day anymore, right? Like it's not your majority of how you're communicating is English. That's a really good point. Didn't think about that.
Yeah, and it's funny now because now that I've been here 5 years, I'm starting to forget Spanish. Like I talk to my dad and he says something and I'm like, "What?" I am, and then he's like, "You're so Americanized." I'm like, "I've only been here five
You've only
years." I don't.
I'd be like, it's your fault. You made us move here.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, "Why did you marry my mom?" I
Yeah.
so no, but I usually the only people that I talk in Spanish with is my dad and my sister. I don't really have much family here, so everybody else I talk in English. And I think after I started thinking in English, that's when I found out that I was like, okay, I got it. I can actually talk to people.
So crazy.
So weird. You need to ask your brother.
He does.
He does speak
Yeah.
things in English or Mandarin.
I think both.
Okay.
It's a struggle, I think, because sometimes he'll start speaking Chinese, like, I don't know. Like, for example, last year when he came and we got Milo, he kept calling him Milo because he's like, oh, it's spelled like that. And I'm like,
For me, my brain can't even hardly speak English alone like, by itself.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be tough. Kudos.
Have you heard of those people who don't have thoughts? Like
men?
Yes, I agree completely.
Laughing box that they sit in and they have
not Mark.
That's true. She's not
Mark's
married.
brain never stops. I'm like, slow down. Oh man.
No, but for real, there's such things besides men. That's really
Yeah, it's like they have no internal voice in their head.
Where are you learning this?
Probably a podcast. I don't know. I'll Google it.
I would go insane.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, when you have no, like, how do you shut it off? I'm like, can you shut off so I can go to bed, please?
I don't know.
I don't have a clue either. Oh goodness.
So I forgot our third question.
It is if you wanted our listener to or people that you're around to remember you by one thing, like how would you want people to remember you by? Like it's like we always say this is a funeral question. If people talked about you at your funeral, but no, what would you want people to remember you as and by?
As I don't know, kind of like my main goal in life is to be a filmmaker. And it's just because I just feel like I'm such a storyteller. I like to tell stories, and whenever I usually tell stories, I like to include a lot of like really weird details and make people laugh and try to do all these things. So I don't know. I like people to remember me by my stories, and especially by all the stuff that I've done in the past for other people and just for myself. So I've never been asked this question, so that's kind of a cool question.
Well, I think the cool thing is like I'm impacted by your story. Like I didn't know your story until today. So like what I will remember you by and like our interactions moving forward will be your story. So that's really cool. It's like came full circle today.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Hey.
Did you know that when you ask about like, hey, but you're not from here? Did you know that she was? I didn't know that she was not from here.
So Tiffany didn't read the bio you sent.
I did.
Because that's where I learned
Okay,
that.
that's what you learned.
She texted me a
cool.
screenshot yesterday. She's like, "Is this good?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think it's
I
fine."
was in the middle of something and I wanted to get a quick response, and you were
Okay.
focused in your time
Was
blocking. I don't
It was
know.
like 8 p.m.
So, anyways, I'm impacted.
Yes, I
by
did
your
know that.
story. You did not light your pants on fire. Impacted by the story. I think that that's really, really cool. I think so too. So,
All right.
Thank you.
Where can people find you or connect with you?
I have Instagram and Facebook. I don't use Facebook that much, but Instagram's the main thing that I use the most. And that's about it. I'm not really into like social media as much, especially now because I'm trying to like, be present and stuff like that. Because I used to be
Mhm.
obsessed with it, like any other teen. So
Yeah.
yeah. So Instagram, just my full name, Dulce Rosa, and then 14.
Okay.
awesome.
Well, thank you for coming onto the show and being such a good sport. I know we had to reschedule a few times, but we did it and we made it.
Yes.
I think that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
absolutely.
All right. If you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure that you follow along with us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Give us a follow, a 5-star review, and we will see you guys next time on The Sustainable. What an awesome episode we just had with Dolce. I feel like we just dove into so many different squirrels. She
Yes.
probably is spinning right now, getting off of interviewing with us and all of the things, which is funny because she always says how great we prepare our listings, but I'm like, that was not always the case. Like we had to learn. I feel like we've learned a lot with being partnered with the right photographer. So
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest takeaways I hope that you're getting is that your success is not just built off of you, that partnering with the right person that is invested back into making sure the product that they're delivering, it's the face for their photography, but also for you. Finding that right person has been key. What are your takeaways?
I think my biggest takeaway is they can see stuff under the bed. Like you don't think about it because you're at a different angle, but just considering the different angles that the camera is going to be in, and even when you're staging or doing like your pre-photo appointment, standing in the different corners of the room, like how is this going to look in a picture if it's this way or this way, and you might have to adjust based on what way the camera is going to be facing.
Well, and I talked about too the expectation management for your sellers of that, like letting them know 75% of their work is happening before that photographer even shows up for the whole process from start to actual closing, that they should be expecting. And your thing that you said too was pre-organizing instead of pre-packing.
No.
Organize.
Decluttering.
Decluttering. That's
you
right.
say
That's right.
pre-packing.
I say pre-packing. I don't know what I say or what we do, but
but we do it.
But we do it. We do it really, really well, according to Dolce at least.
Yeah.
No, but yes, you're right. You're talking about the not saying decluttering to not offend them. Because there are some times where we walk through and it's like, we will be delivering a cleaning crew to you tomorrow. Or holy smokes, we've got to like literally like every single room needs to have a U-Haul individually for each room, and like making sure that you're being respectful in the conversation with them for sure through that whole process. So that was my takeaway, which I don't really know my takeaway, but I'm taking it away.
Mine was just under the bed and the angles.
Yeah.
Just thinking like a photographer and trying to see it through their eyes will save you a lot of time and headache when your pictures come back.
And then don't forget that you need to be making sure that you are studying your photography so that you don't just throw it to the MLS and don't figure out, okay, what could I have done better? Continuously trying to perfect that craft, even if you're partnered with a great photographer, making sure that you are actually looking to see how can I be coaching those sellers, by learning those angles, like we talked about too.
Yeah. So if you guys think that this episode would be beneficial to somebody else, please give it a share, a download, 5-star review, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and we will see you next time on Real Estateable.